Hi, Freedom. How's my little boy? How's my little boy doing? Good morning. Good morning. All right, so, all right. Can you see me now? Okay, I'm just checking in. This is day 3. That's my dog, Freedom. I wanted to name him something that meant something if I was going to yell it 100 times a day or more. And freedom is important. It's something that I have had burn in my heart my whole life. Not everybody has it, as we are witnessing. Okay, so today is day 3. It's been a little over 48 hours. I wanted to do just a bit of an update with you here now, and I have so much I need to get done today, but I want to keep a record of this because one of the things that I've loved most in my life is reading accounts of journals and letters from people who've lived through history, and this is history. It doesn't feel like it because it's small and tiny and it's just my life, but me and my 2 dogs in a tiny trailer, a big horse trailer, too heavy to pull. And I love that. So maybe this will be seen by someone someday, and you'll understand and make better decisions than our version of civilization and humanity. Although I think history teaches us it repeats. All right, I got to get more comfortable. All right, so... Okay, so it's been 48 hours. You can see the circles are growing underneath my eyes. This is day 3. The adrenaline is wearing off, and the crash happened yesterday afternoon. I didn't sleep well, but I am calming down. I wanted to update you on yesterday, because it was an emotional day for me, and I wanted to tell you some historical perspective, because, you know, if you're watching this in the future, especially 100 years from now, you're going to get whatever version, right? The victors always write history, but I really wanted to set the stage. If someone stumbles on this and didn't know what happened, I am not personally, emotionally, or physically involved with any of the politics or the issues. I'm like many. I stepped away. I checked out of the system of life and am an observer of what's happening. And now I'm living with the consequences of a lot of bad decisions that people made based on a personality. I'm a therapist, so I know the people part pretty well. That means I understand the psychology, the mental and emotional components of what drives people. Ego and temper tantrums, if I was to sum it all up into 2 words or 3 words. But before I do that, before I really kind of give you the politics and the large stage of what's going on out in the world, I wanted to tell you a little story about yesterday that's just a reality. And like I said, I hope you guys make better decisions. People are starting to split and break down into where their comfort zones are going to be. So some people are still saying, it's all my imagination, nothing's really happening, I'm overreacting. There's people who are just checked out. There's a few that believe somebody's coming to take care of us, you know, the police or the military or United Nations, something. Uh-oh, it's back. It's back. Are you back? She still doesn't know what's happening. And there is a few like me, more like me in this area, because we're kind of out here for this very reason, in the middle of nowhere, with very few ties to the system, to civilization. We're starting to get focused and come together, and so some of that we can talk about, some of that we can't. And You know, I made the decision on my food. I wanted to talk about that because that's the emotional part. I doubt I'll be able to stay here for the long term, so canning is really not an option for me. And dehydrating, I have mostly hamburger and chicken, so that doesn't really dehydrate very well. That's protein that's not in a can already. And you know, I don't want to use the fuel and the resources to can everything, because that's, if you do it, like I've watched some videos on people in Eastern Europe, and they can their meat without a pressure cooker, but you have to boil it like 4 to 6 hours or more, and that's a lot of propane that I don't want to use, just in case I do have to stay here, or it's a lot of firewood that I don't have split, and I don't really have the time right now to do that. So I made the decision. I dug a hole and I put the cooler down there, and I cooked, or am cooking, all of it. It's not that much, but and I am feeding most of it to me and to her, and not to him. You know, a dog his size is about 65 pounds, and he requires 1 pound a day of meat to be healthy. I haven't been able to do that for him because of my life, my situation, my limits. I haven't been able to provide that for him. He has a lot of health problems because he did eat dog food, dry dog food, for a long time, and we are bearing out the consequences. You know, he's losing his eyesight, he's losing his hearing, he can't walk, he can't very far, he can't tolerate heat, he can't breathe when it gets hot, and, you know, meat is the most expensive resource we have in this period of time. And I haven't had very much the last 2 years. Before that, I lived on a cow farm, and we had meat all the time. But the last 2 years have been lean. I haven't had refrigeration or a freezer, so we've been eating crappy for 2 years. And his health has been compromised, and my health has been compromised. But, you know, I made the decision to cook it and feed most of the meat to me and her, because we have the best chance of walking out of here. He can't. And I can't stay forever. All right, so one of the reasons I decided to do that was because I can't carry the meat. It doesn't stay good. But if I eat it and there's too much, I will store it as body fat. You know, fat has 9 calories of energy per gram. You know, protein and carbohydrates have 4. If you eat more protein than you need, your body stores it as fat. And fat is a very efficient fuel, and fat on my body is easier to carry than fat or food in my backpack. She's still growing. She's underweight. She can use the calories because who knows what the future will hold. Hunting in this area, ouch, is very limited to tiny animals like little tiny birds and little tiny rabbits and squirrels, or elk and deer. And, you know, it's summer, and so you can't really take down a big elk and not lose most of the meat. So that's just real. And the reason I'm sharing that is I want you to know it's real. I am, you know, giving him extra food like rice to fill him up so he doesn't feel hungry. But shoot, this is so annoying. Hey, I'm trying to record here. Anyways, I don't want it to go to waste. I can't feed everybody. There's not enough. So we're just eating it, and we're going to put on some weight, hopefully, and prepare for when we walk out of here. Okay, so I'm not going to do anything to him, but we'll just cross these bridges when we get to them. The second thing I wanted to update you on is water. And I'm only saying this as a future reference when you choose a place to live. We did find there is a solar well that we have access to, but between here and there, if we drive, it's fine. But if we walk, there are 2 separate packs of dogs that are for, I don't know, they're wild. I don't know if they're aggressive or not, but I've never wanted to get out of the car to find out. I don't know how to walk past 2 different sets of dogs. Do I walk past by myself? Do I take my dogs with me? I doubt that. Do I risk, you know, it's like 1.5 miles if I go over the rough country. It's 2.5 miles if I take the road. I do have a little wagon I can pull, six of my containers, but, ow, ow, ow! If I, no, she's still not aware it's the end of the world. Okay, so anyways, these are the things I don't have the answers to, because do I leave them here? What if I don't come back, right? Do we all go? There's too many of us. Not all of us can walk that far. I don't even know if I can walk 5 miles, 2.5 miles each way. That's going to be a real push for me right now. So these are the questions, and that, you know, the most I could probably carry is 18 gallons, and that's my containers. And at, you know, 2 gallons a day for just me and them, that's 9 days, but that doesn't include washing anything. You know, the good news is I had just finished my laundry and I just washed my hair. I'm remembering back to 2 years ago in July, I cut all my hair off. Super easy to wash with it being short. It's just finally kind of growing in, and now I am thinking about it. I have to cut it all off again. I don't, oh God. Oh, man. All right. Okay. All right, so I just saw a neighbor. I'm going to go meet him at this other guy's house who is supposed to be able, who supposedly has a CB radio system. Fingers crossed. Hold on.
You're going to get in the car. Hop in.
Okay. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm over at, shoot. I'm over at Fisher's house, and he's supposed to have CB, so let's see what he says. Hey, guys.
Too opinionated, Greg.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
So, Steve Fisher. So, I'm over here, ouch, because I'm worried about what's going on. This is our 3rd day of no electricity. So, I don't know what your thoughts are, or if you've got your CB. I heard you have a good CB system.
I got 2 or 3 CB radios.
Are they?
Good communication with it. I ain't seen nothing.
Have you?
Of course, I stay pretty isolated right here, you know.
Okay. Have you heard anything, Steve?
No, I don't get much news, you know, a little bit from the internet, but I don't have a television.
Well, the internet's down.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, good. I didn't know that.
How could you not know that? We're on day number 3.
Oh, well, I don't check it every day.
Okay.
Yeah. I live up way up on the mountain by myself.
All right. So, do you guys have any idea about what might have happened?
Well, I mean, we've always talked about all this credit card and telephone, all this electric stuff's just shut down. I mean, it ain't like we ain't nobody expecting it to happen, because it's probably going to happen eventually. Now, have I noticed it yet? Not me personally, but what do I know?
So you're not worried?
Not right now.
Okay. Are you worried?
I've got a mild concern for it, but I've been that way for a long time, you know. It's I may have missed the fact that the internet's down for a couple of days, but you know, I've been preparing for that eventuality. Okay.
So how long is your CB stuff working?
Well, it is. Of course, I've got it packed up on kind of like standby. We just don't keep it out.
So you haven't talked to anybody in the last 2 days?
No, ma'am.
Have you talked to anybody the last 2 days?
Just Fisher.
Okay. All right. Well, if you hear something, will you let us know?
We sure will.
I guess put it on carrier pigeon?
Yeah, we're sitting up at 7,400 elevation, so we see pretty good from right here. If there's anything goes on, we're going to see it.
Okay, so, well, my understanding is Misty's got a CB over there, but we don't have it hooked up. So if we get it hooked up, will we be able to communicate with you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We can send up flag signals right now.
I've got two CBs in my vehicles and one at the house and a handheld. So I got
But you haven't been on them.
No, it's just Fisher and I are kind of working a deal to have communications for our mile distance from our houses. Just
Okay.
As
So
the crow flies, it probably ain't.
okay. All right. All right. Thanks, guys.
Misty's less than a quarter mile as a crow flies.
All right. Okay. So that was interesting. They are not worried. They aren't even really aware something's going on. So I'm going to try to go and see if that well is available. What's really going on with the solar well? So that's an example of it's been 2 days without power, but we live without power, so not a big deal. So there's so that's what it looks like. Can you see? We're kind of in a plateau. So I'm kind of in a bowl. It's a plateau. So I don't know if you can see that or not. New Mexico. That is good. All right. So here is water. Hasn't been cleaned out in a while, but it's water. So it has solar panels. That little shack back there, it has a moat around it. How fun would that be? All right, so solar panels. Solar panels are running the water. So I thought I would put in a pretty shot of the flower. Whoops. Let's go back here. Okay. I thought I would add a flower shot. That's an antenna. And all right, I need to come over here for a minute. So I am going to rest for a sec. Okay. All right, can you see me at all? Sorry if you can't see me. Although that's, can you see the clouds? That was the clouds I just showed you when I drove around. Okay, I had intended to kind of do an assessment of what our communications are, but Misty is asleep, and so that's the CB tower. And I know we have a couple walkie-talkies, we have some CBs, like those guys said, and I don't know if we have shortwave or not, but the takeaway is they said they can get theirs up and ready really quickly. They haven't been concerned enough to try and see what's going on, and I don't know how any of that stuff works or where it is, so I can't look for it and show it to you. So that's kind of a summary of where our communications is. I went ahead and drove over to see what the solar well situation was. And so the good news is it's running water. The bad news is, oh, I forgot to see how much. I think it's like 2.5 miles. I forgot to check. And you can see we're all in a different place. So I am obviously more concerned than everybody else, but that's okay. I have my suspicions at the end of this. You know, I'll be leaving by myself because I don't function well in big groups, and I think the safest thing for us would be all to pile in on the same property, whether it's here or another place. And I don't really do well in large groups. So we'll see. Everybody's very nice. Everybody's got a different take. Everybody has a different sense of urgency. I am clearly overreacting compared to everybody else. But you know what? We all have to make our decisions. So I'm going to see if I can get a bit more comfortable. And then I want to do that thing I was telling you about. I want to talk about how we got here. It's hard to sum it up in just a minute or two, but I'm going to try. I'm getting sweatier and more ragged as the day goes on. All right, so I took a time out. I went and got water. I just told you that. It's not very defensible. It's just sort of out in the open. So what was shocking to me is the dogs didn't come running down, but there's 2 separate packs of dogs, so I don't know what that means. I could hear them, but I couldn't see them. I get tired when my adrenaline is spent. Okay, so how did we get here? You know, what's interesting about this period of time is we are in a peak historical moment. So if you're looking at this 100 years from now, you really probably have a much better picture, or not, you know, depending on which version of events happens. But we're at a peak kind of moment where a lot of different cycles are coming to an end. So as much as, you know, I said before, you know, humanity is really stupid and we sort of did this to ourselves, not sort of we did this to ourselves. It really is our experience, I believe, as humans to go through all these things, because if you don't experience the consequences of your choices, your beliefs, your actions, how do you learn anything? And, you know, we have enough historical data in our time period to understand that there are very specific cycles. So there's some that we call it the fourth turning, which is an 80-year cycle. There's a lot of different sun, solar, celestial cycles coming to a head. There is sunspot cycles. There are economic cycles. So we're in this really interesting thing that's happening. But I think what's different about us in our world right now is we're in a real secrets revealed period of time. And, you know, there's a lot of biblical, religious, esoteric texts that talk about this period. And, you know, some people are putting a very religious spin on it. What I see is the natural progression of humans' evolution. I'm not enjoying it, but I understand it from a very abstract point of view, but that doesn't change the practical realities of what's happening. But you cannot grow without, you know, a deconstruction period. And you know, we as Western civilization have become decadent. We're lazy, we're soft, we're overweight, we're unhealthy, right? I even know better and I'm unhealthy. And, you know, we've allowed powers, physical, non-physical, whatever you want to call it, all of the above, to take our responsibility from us. Not everybody agrees with that perspective. But what I see is that we've given our power away as humans to external forces, external institutions, external associations, external structures, and instead of taking personal responsibility, which is why, you know, we can't feed ourselves if the system goes down. You know, we don't have access to energy without a lot of systems and moving parts which are being deconstructed as we speak. That's what makes this moment in time so difficult, is we put ourselves in a very, very precarious situation. And now we're experiencing consequences of our lack of paying attention. And even if you were paying attention, there really isn't anything you can do about this particular moment in time. I think this has to happen. I think the one event that runs a little bit contrary to all these other ones is that we are also due for a great big sun explosion cycle. And in our time period, the way our cosmos is set up in this period of time is every 12,000 years, the Earth experiences some form of catastrophe. And we are on the brink of that right now. It could be tomorrow, it could be 20 years, it could be 100 years. I think that's really a lot of the undercurrent of what's happening, the stress, unnamed and subconscious. There's just a real fragile sense of our world, and you know, the psychology of human is we don't do uncertainty very well, and it makes us behave in a lot of different ways, as we're learning as I'm going through the days here. My way is to get super functional, kind of controlling about my day, my experience, my processes, and to not try to force anybody to agree with me, but I'm not going to not do my stuff because other people don't want to do this stuff right now. And that's okay. You know, I told you I hadn't really planned on worrying about it, and now I'm committed to the survival thing. So it's a very complex set of issues that have brought us to this point in time. But I still think the overriding theme is personal responsibility, and we're all going to learn it in our own way if we want it and what it means to us. I think that's the essence of the human spirit experience. How responsible do you want to be? And how responsible can you be? And what parts do you have to let go of? So that's enough of my pontifications here in the middle of day 3. It's about halfway through the day. I'm already really tired, but at least I went and looked. I only used up probably a gallon of gas, so that's not too much. Hopefully those guys will come back at some point when they decide to get on their CVs and see what's going on. Or maybe we'll get ours set up. I don't know. But it just goes to show you we all have a different pacing, a different sense of urgency, and obviously my sense of urgency is a little bit more exacting than everybody else's, which of course makes me annoying to be around, but it's not the first time I've experienced this. So I think we're going to call it a day today. Tomorrow is day 4. We'll have completed 72 hours, and that's the point where I think things are going to start to get more dangerous. I think that the people who are paying attention are the hardcore predators, and I think that's my biggest concern. You know, I've made some decisions about food and water, and now I think safety and defense are pretty critical and key as I move forward on day 3, 4, and beyond. See you next time. Maybe. Who knows? But I would say these things are helping. So I'm glad that I can at least talk about this in a way that I don't know if anybody will see it, but I like the idea of maybe somebody getting something from it in your future that will benefit, because we wasted a lot of time and opportunity here. We have a beautiful planet. We have so much opportunity, and we have pissed it away in ways that are just uncalculable. Consequences, here we are. Today's present from you know who. Thank you, Haven.